Well, good morning. From France to Fresno, one of the big issues out there is global warming. It's zeroing in on our automobiles. The question is, should we keep driving around with fossil fuels or go electric? Save the planet or save a buck at the gas pump? Joining us is State Assemblyman Phil Ting in San Francisco, who has been a leader in this movement. You want us, through regulations, if possible, it need be, to completely switch over to electric cars, correct?
Yeah, by 2040, absolutely.
Okay, but the average car stays on the road for 10 to 12 years, so we got to get going now on this.
Absolutely, and what we want to do is slowly transition people. We're already seeing more and more people buying Teslas, Chevy Bolts, and all sorts of dealers offering a wide variety of choices.
At the same time, the state legislature has set a series of goals that they want enacted as far as car emissions in the next 10 years. Now, electric cars only represent about 2 to 3%, even here in California, and we're the biggest buyers. That's a heck of a gap to try to make up for. So are we going to do this voluntarily, or are we going to start seeing state regulations aimed at getting people out of their gas cars?
Well, what we're trying to do is incentivize that behavior, right? Right now, we don't have consumer trucks, we don't have SUVs, we don't have vans. These are some of the most popular cars right now. So as automobile dealers like GM, Volkswagen start offering those kind of cars, Volkswagen's bringing back their 1970s van that you might remember driving around in. Once people have those choices, they're going to have a lot more options. And we're still offering incentives to do that.
But to get the electric option, you have to create a market. And you look at a gas station and you see how many people are pumping gas versus plugging in. So the question is, when we talk to manufacturers and such, is they say, okay, we can do it if there's a market. But to be a market, it has to still be cost effective for all of those drivers. So the question is, do you sell them on the idea that it's cheaper, or do you sell them on the idea it costs you more through more taxes on your gases or fees?
It's definitely cheaper because what you do is you charge at home. That's why there's no gas stations. And then on top of that, what you see is there's no maintenance. I have a brand new Chevy Bolt. I have no maintenance for my car.
Then
so
why
I don't
aren't
pay
people buying them? If there's such a deal, why aren't people buying them?
Because people have to change what they know. That's the same reason why people don't buy different toothpaste. People buy the same toothpaste they've been using since they were 12, not because the other toothpaste is better.
Well, they buy the toothpaste possibly because it's cheaper.
No, it's because they're used to it. They buy Colgate versus Crest because they're a Colgate person versus Crest person.
We're going to see us transition into electric because it's going to become more appealing. That's the idea?
Well, it's also, if you're a GM customer and you're a traditional GM customer, you like to buy GM, they're moving their entire fleet electric. If you're a BMW customer, there's a lot of very loyal BMW people, they're moving that direction too. So a lot of it is the manufacturers offering those types of choices.
I was talking to a guy that owns a string of gas stations and the other day, and he got an offer from the state to install a hydrogen system in his gas stations. Yes. They're going to give him a couple of $1 million grant money to build it, and then the state's going to pay him $4,000 a month to maintain it. Are we going to be subsidizing all of this?
Well, for hydrogen, they're trying to pilot it to see if that's actually worth doing, because hydrogen mirrors gas, right? It's the same kind of technology. It's cleaner, but you go to a station, you fill it up. The question is how do you get Who do you get to pay for all those hydrogen stations?
Okay, speaking of paying, if we're the state that's picking it up, and we've only got a couple of seconds left, is, all right, we pay it, and then if it is subsidized, and there are less people driving and buying gas, there goes the gas tax down. Where do we get the money to pay for all of this?
Well, that's why we piloted a vehicle miles driven, and that was the same argument. More and more people are driving zero-emission cars. I'm not paying a gas tax. I pay a fee right now to help pay for road repairs, but also we're looking at doing the tax based on how many miles you drive, not how much gas you use.
So whatever I say about you not using gas, chances are you're going to come after me for miles
no, we're
driving?
thinking about totally switching. That's why.
You know, this is one of the greatest Rubik cubes we've seen. It involves social, changing people's attitudes, and money. I love it. Christmas came early to the state of California in the form of a $15 billion budget surplus. Joining us this morning is State Assemblyman Phil Ting, who has the honor of wrapping up this surplus money in a nice little package and deciding who gets that what under the tree. It's got to be tempting. $15 billion extra bucks. We going to spend it? We going to save it? What are we going to do?
First, we're going to save more of it. We got $16 billion already saved. We probably need to save about $25 billion. That should be a goal of ours. We know the economy is strong today. Unemployment's low, but a recession's looming. We're 8 years into a great economic cycle. We know that at some point it's going to end.
Okay, you're sort of asking for a fiscal responsible tax. You say we've got 15 in reserve, we need 25. That takes 10 billion out of this 14 billion we have to play with. That leaves us with about 4 or 5 billion. In the first week of the legislative session, I believe there were $40 billion worth of new spending submitted by lawmakers. How do you balance that out?
Well, absolutely. Well, and many of those are aspirational. You know, I have one colleague that wanted to add $20 to $30 billion to schools. It's not that any of us don't think that schools should get that money. It's whether we do it this year. Many of these things are something that you do over time. We've added
everybody wants more funding for kids.
That's right.
Well, that is right.
Well,
and now we have preschool child care that we want the state to help pay for, right?
Well, that's going to be one area where we probably are going to invest. We've added or committed to $1 billion over the next 4 years for early education and daycare. The lieutenant governor has talked about wanting to do more, so we'll probably be looking to do more.
That's another one.
Yes.
Healthcare, the idea, hospitals and such, the idea, and hospitals and schools. How are we going to afford this sort of semi-universal care?
Well, healthcare, we've added 5 million more people have insurance now. The problem is, with the mandate getting taken away, the best people to insure, which are young people, are probably not going to go buy the insurance. So we're trying to figure out how to lower healthcare costs to keep more people in the system. Okay,
how much of this wish list of $40 billion do you think we're actually going to see? Because, you know, the polling shows that people want more health care, they want more child care.
Well, and they don't want to pay for it. It's great.
True.
They don't want taxes, but they don't want any of their services cut, right? That's what we call deficit spending, and that's where the state's been traditionally. So you have to be able to tell people, well, you have to pick and choose, just like we have to pick and choose. So chances are a couple areas, right? We're going to probably do something around early education. Okay. We're probably going to take a look at higher education. It's very popular. Freer community college. We got the first year free. Maybe we'll do the second year free. I think we're also going to take a look at some of the poverty programs. We have 1 in 5 people living in poverty. So like CalWorks, EITC, those are two programs that we've been really looking at.
So those are the programs, those are your aspirationals, those are the goals. Meanwhile, you have this boulder that came flying through the window in the form of California wildfires.
Yes.
And we have to clean up the forest, and we have billions of dollars in losses, and there's questions about bailing out the utilities. That's not a popular topic and a popular way to spend money, right?
Well, not just that, but it's a question of where can people live? Is it safe to live in an area that is fire prone? So everybody in Paradise knew that area was designated as high risk. They just did an approval in Southern California, this brand new development by Magic Mountain. It's in a high risk forest area. It's going to be a couple thousand homes. So the question is that safe for people to live in those areas?
But once they're in those areas and living in those areas, they vote in those areas, and they're going to want them taken care of.
Absolutely, and the question is whether or not they're going to be able to get home insurance.
Well, all of that is money, and all of that is, are you going to subsidize home insurance as well? Is that going to be on the list? That's politics.